Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PlotCast. I'm your host, Nate Slater.
And I'm Chris Sambrook, and today we're going to be reviewing the entire first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So now with the conclusion of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, or as aptly joked, the Knight of the Nine Kingdoms, um, we have quite a bit to discuss. I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoyed
I really,
each episode.
I really did. I from the get go, I will say the first, opening sequence that they had in the first episode, it was different. We'll
Out
put
there.
it that way,
Yeah.
and
A
totally left
little
field.
shitty.
Yeah, they definitely injected or ejected some comedy in there that I wasn't expecting. And it kind of threw me for a loop because I was like, wait, am I supposed to take this serious or not? But as the episode continued going on and stuff like that, and the whole season, you start to see that they do a lot of things. They try and make it not as heavy or as dark and gritty as the rest of the shows. They try and bring it some levity, and I think it worked. I think they did a really
Yeah.
good job with that.
I think what they were going for thematically was just plain simple medieval,
Yeah.
as normalized medieval as it could be.
I mean, they didn't have places to shit out in the middle of the woods. I mean, technically now you go anywhere, you go in the middle of the woods, you're
Yeah.
gonna shit where you gotta
Actually,
shit.
most castles weren't even equipped with anything similar. It was just a bucket
Yeah.
in most rooms. So,
The answer is you
anyways,
gotta go, you gotta go.
exactly. So starting off, the first episode was pretty on par. And not just in regards to the novelization of it, but just the way it's filmed. It gives you a decent setup, gives you an
Oh,
idea of what you're in for. And I think I mean, considering it's only 6 episodes
yeah,
as compared to most Game of Thrones and spin-offs, it's been a little longer, especially the episode length.
yeah,
Uh, but I think it fits because the novel, it's relatively small in comparison, so it makes sense. And going through the show, introducing each of the characters, which, there weren't too many main characters. I think they kept it tight knit as like part of the main group. You had Baylor, which made a strong presence right from the get go. Obviously, dunking that egg, um, and obviously the royal family are a presence that don't go unnoticed. But I assumed when we saw the Kingsguard in the first episode, the way that the characters were introduced, I assumed that they were going to use them more, but they really didn't. We only saw them again during the Trial of Seven.
yeah.
As far as main characters go, it's very tight knit between the main two, the royal family, and Raymond. I think beyond that, it isn't really too many main characters.
Yeah, I feel like there's plenty of side characters that pop in and out, but really they wanted to focus, especially because, like we said, the show is shorter in both episode length and time length of each episode. So they wanted to get to the point, and based off of what their ideas are, they want to continue the show for at least 15 years. So that's going to be pretty insane if that's, I
I'm
mean,
gonna have to start reading the other books, apparently.
I mean, I just for the fact that both the main characters, the actors who play Dunk and Egg, they're all for it, which is weird. But then again, six like 6 episodes compared to 8 to 10, and being shorter episodes, it's a little bit more manageable air
And
time.
it's more digestible for the average person too.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
show
there's
itself
nothing.
is.
Yeah, it's there's nothing more daunting than showing up to a show 2 seasons in and going, "Oh, I got to catch up on how many episodes?" And
And
each
then
episode is how long? Yeah,
yeah,
so I feel like with this being as modest, I guess you could say, for HBO standards
yeah,
as it is, um, it will make for easier review for people maybe trying to catch up because they missed it the first time round and so on and so forth. But I know everyone's wondering, okay, what really are the differences between the show and the book? Honestly, not too many. I mean, I discussed in our first episode review that some of the differences are purely for the medium that is being presented. Instead of just having a voiceover so you could hear what's going on in Dunk's head, he says things out loud. So initially he talks more.
Before we go any further, spoiler warning.
Yes, obviously Dunk in the book, he talks a whole lot less. He is a whole lot dumber too. Most of that is, something you can deduct from his thoughts and his lack of understanding of the things around him.
Yeah.
But with them giving him a more dialogue heavy role, it shows that he's more of a wise person than anything. Wise in the sense that he sits back, watches, and learns.
Yeah.
And as we've learned throughout a lot of Game of Thrones, people end up eating their words. So with him being the way that he is set up to be, there's no doubts now as to why in the first season of Game of Thrones you have Joffrey going through the Book of Knights going, oh, Sir Duncan the Tall, there's 11 pages on him.
We get that kind of setup in not necessarily the first episode, but Dunk, he rather followed Sir Arlen. He sat back and watched him and emulated him. So
Yes, and probably more of the better traits,
yes.
because Sir Arlen definitely had a lot of bad traits too.
Yeah.
He was also very disassociated socially, which we see initially with Dunk.
Yeah.
But he develops kind of, a core group of friends. You could even call it family,
Yeah.
because that's how they see it. And yeah, no, it absolutely works for him and his character, having been someone who watched an older person just kind of revel in the nothingness that goes beyond being social in that sense. It fits. And while you have in the book not really too much is discussed about Sir Arlen, like we had a lot more flashbacks, which, whenever we get information, it's him recalling certain things. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a flashback as it is just a few lines of information at a time, especially the third episode with him and Flea Bottom. All of that
Yep.
is just for the show.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen. um I mean, it's discussed that he had three main friends when he was younger. They only showed one. It's whatever. They can do whatever they want with the show to keep it interesting. Um, but yeah, for the most part, it is probably the most accurate out of everything they've done. I mean, yes, the first season of Game of Thrones was pretty accurate. It
Yeah.
wasn't until after that they start straying strongly. But I want to say this is, again, it's a lot shorter, so it's easier to keep it direct. One of the other big changes is Lionel Baratheon was not in it as early. They definitely used him a whole lot more, which I think really was necessary to develop a whole lot more of their relationship. And plus, the actor who played him was absolutely hilarious. He deserved every bit of screen time he got. I
Yeah, he
mean, there
was
was
one of the
nothing.
better parts of the show.
Yeah. I mean, he had me cracking up at the beginning of the last episode when he brought the maester, and he's having, I'm sorry, it's beyond my abilities. This man is dying. Beyond your abilities, and it's beyond your abilities. Get out of here. That was hilarious. And despite it not being in the book or really part of his personality in the book, I feel like for the show it worked very, very well. And it's gonna it also develops more of his deeper personality. I mean, it shows his distrust in the Targaryens.
Yeah.
He definitely sees them as frauds. There is no honor to them. Honor is, despite him being brash and bloodthirsty, and he's got plenty of negative traits. Honor is clearly something that's very important to him,
Yeah,
and there's no one more honorable in this show than Dunk, the so-called fake knight.
yeah. And the thing that's kind of funny is that Lionel's talking all this crap, but if memory serves me correctly, I think he marries a Targaryen. I think. Don't quote
Yeah,
me on that.
yeah, I'm not familiar with that part, but yeah. Uh, so yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, I think he even made a reference even to the Baratheons that we know in Game of Thrones, the brothers, Robert, Stannis, and Renly. Not directly, but he says he gives Dunk an offer to come back with him to Storm's End, which he does. He does give him and not right there and then, it was a different point, but he does give him that offer to come with him. But in the show, he says, come with me and I'll love you like a brother, or don't, and fuck it, I'll hate you like a brother. And that is just so Baratheon.
Yeah. Just because of how their whole relationship is in the original Game of Thrones thing, you know?
Yeah. And I think his character is probably, outside of Dunk and Egg's relationship, is the most developed. I did enjoy Raymond, but they added him getting married and having a pregnant wife. I feel like that was for comedic purposes,
Oh,
and,
it
and to
was.
show how uh, green he really is with
Yeah.
his green apple.
And it's
Um,
funny because even Dunk, who's not smart at all, like, even like, yeah,
yeah,
that doesn't happen.
exactly.
I'm not
Yeah.
I I I'm not smart, but I'm not stupid.
Plus, he's seen her throughout the show
Yeah,
at other men's tents.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, no, it's she. I don't, as far as I can remember, she's not even in the book. But it's an addition that strengthens, I guess, the viewership, I guess, the interaction.
yeah,
Um, and Raymond, I mean, he is like a brother to Dunk.
yeah.
They definitely develop one of those great bonds. Um, and that outside of that, honestly, there aren't too many differences. I mean, there are small here and there interactions with Dunk and Egg. Some of them are expanded. Um, the interaction with Prince is,
Makar,
yeah, at the end, he goes to Dunk's tree and talks with him about taking Egg under his wing, and he agrees, but he says he will take him on the road, and Makar just says, "Yeah, go ahead," and then off they go. And that's really how it ends. In this, they kind of lean on humor, especially with the no, then the yes, and then the no, and then at the end, Egg just shows up and he's like, "My father said I was to become your squire," blah blah blah, and then off they go, and you hit the credits, and you've got him looking for his son. Where did that boy go?
like, "Where is he?" And it's just like, yeah, he's up to his old, antics again.
Yeah, so I mean, sure, in the show that's going to add, especially in future episodes, assuming we get them, it's going to add a little more controversy, if you will.
Yeah.
The stolen prince. I mean, I don't see Dunk being blamed for that because his father knows what the
It's
child's like. It's a great beginning to what should be a great show. I don't really have any problems with the way they did that. The changes that they put in, I feel, are very necessary.
well, a few things I wanted to say that I really liked how they gave the whole penny tree explanation there at the end,
Yeah.
especially he pays homage to Sir Arlen by putting the penny in the tree. So that was kind of cool. And it shows how even though Arlen wasn't probably the best mentor, he was good enough to show Dunk the difference between right and wrong. And by the end of this, you definitely see that Dunk is a little disillusioned with the fantasy of being a knight at this point, especially after what he just went through with the trial of the seven and everything, that it's not what he thought it was, at least for most knights. And definitely Prince Baelor tried to uphold chivalry. And in doing so, his own brother technically killed him. Obviously not with malice, but with a mace.
Yeah.
So So it was shitty all around for especially Dunk and Makar because they both lost technically somebody to them that meant a lot. For Makar, that was his brother that was to be king and probably would have been the best king in Westeros and maybe have put chivalry out in the world and gave everybody in Westeros someone to look up to that's not trying to murder them with dragons. And then for Dunk, looking up to Baelor with the fact that he actually embodied that essence of chivalry to where it's not all crap with everybody else he's seeing.
Yeah.
Especially
I think
when
that's why he got so upset when Lionel was talking crap about the Targaryens, saying how they're spineless and there's no honor in them, because he saw a side of Baelor that was honorable. I mean, first, Baelor gave him the permission to be a part of the tournament. And then later, he joins him at his side when he didn't need to. You know, that there was more to Baylor than what Lionel saw, and Dunk was right there, and he's learning from these people. He's looking up to everyone, and that's kind of how he is. He sees himself as the bottom rung. So
yeah.
everyone that even Raymond, who was a squire when he first met him, he looked up to Raymond even. He feels like an outsider looking in. I feel like he sees more than the people already in there.
And the funny thing is that even at the end, when Dunk brings it up to Lionel, Lionel's like, "You think he really did that for honor?" No, he
Yeah.
didn't. Like he still is skeptic about the whole thing because he's
Yeah, and that really just
Targaryen.
shows Lionel's like, I mean, he obviously he's been in the lordship for a very long time. He
Yeah.
sees things at a political standpoint. He doesn't see them, at a humanitarian standpoint, if you will. And yeah, I mean, both of them are right in certain respects. So, I mean, that's the great thing about conflicting viewpoints is sometimes they're both right.
Yeah. Good thing Lionel and Dunk are friends.
Yep.
Another thing I want to touch on quickly is the fact that how, at least to me, it seemed how kind of stricken with grief Egg seemed to be after the whole ordeal, where he even goes into his brother's chambers, sees him sleeping with a knife, and apparently was going to kill him. To me,
Yes.
feel like that was because of the fact that if it wasn't for his brother, none of this would have happened.
Which is true. I mean, Maeklar did suggest that they fought one on one, the
Yeah,
trial of combat. And he was the one that brought up the trial of seven, which I'm surprised when Maeklar was blaming Dunk for his brother's death, he didn't blame his son,
yeah,
who was the real reason all of that happened. But that being said, yeah, when Egg went in there with that knife, he wasn't just looking at it like, "Oh, you're the cause of all of this. You're also in line to be a king one
yeah,
day."
yeah. Especially if their older brother decides not to be king because he's a drunk.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we've learned even with House of the Dragon that the king before gets to choose. And we've already learned how he feels about his sons.
yeah. So, I mean, especially by the end, we see that he feels that Aegon is probably going to be the one that's most worth being king at this point because we still haven't seen Aemond yet.
Yes, Aemond has been missing, and he is. He is missing for the book too, because he was a malicious little who got sent off to train with the maesters. At first, I believe it was just for humility, but he obviously eventually finds his way to the wall. So, yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I know you want to get to it, so I'm going to let you take the floor here on a certain other IP that has large similarities.
All right, so we talked about it when we did our initial review of episode one that we were talking about something that kind of took a little bit of Game of Thrones and made it its own way back in 2001. And that movie was called A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger, rest in peace, best Joker ever. The funny thing about that movie is a few things. One of his colleagues in that movie was actually Robert Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
That's something funny to think about there. But as far as the book goes, almost the same thing as far as the tournament that
yeah.
happens, the death of
The
their knight, and they have to joust and,
yeah.
love and all that kind
The
of stuff.
idea is just like he is a non-knight that ends up taking the armor and the title and even identity of the person that had fallen, becoming a fake knight and entering a jousting competition. There's the elements of romance,
Yeah.
showing off for the lady. There are similarities. I would argue that there's a lot that goes against that, especially thematically.
Yeah.
There's definitely a tone that's very different, but yes, there is undeniable um, similarities between the two, and that's held more ironic considering A Knight's Tale was based off of a story in the Canterbury Tales that was very different. So it almost feels like it was rewritten to be more like A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. And being that the book came out 3 years prior, it's very possible. I'm
Yeah.
not saying there's thievery going on. I'm just saying there's some facts they kind of
That
line
are
up.
very similar, yeah. Especially they probably read the book and then they wanted to turn it into a movie, and then they read, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. They're like, "Oh, let's integrate some of this in here because this probably isn't gonna go anywhere." And yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough, it's out there now. But yeah, I thought
Y-
that was a cool little nod or
I
similarity
think
kind
I
of thing there.
especially the similarity I like the most is the whole team behind the knight.
Yeah,
The friendship that's built. Um, I definitely see that as probably the part that holds it all together in
yeah.
both tales.
We're getting kinda towards the end here before we get on our way. What do we think's gonna happen next season? I mean, I would like to see I definitely think that it's gonna be a road season. It's gonna be them traveling, going to wherever.
Traveling to Dorne, I believe
Or
they're headed.
yeah, I think maybe also at some point no, maybe we won't. I was thinking maybe they'll go to, meet, Lionel somewhere, but I don't think so. I think maybe that he might not be in the next season.
Yeah, it's possible. Although with the popularity of his character, I'm sure they'll find a way to sneak him in there, if only for a brief cameo. I feel like there's probably a lot more that they can do now that they are free of the restraints of the tournament in a single
Yeah,
location. And there will be a whole lot more Egg. While Egg obviously being very prominent in this season, I feel like there was very little of the actual character that you see from him,
yeah.
especially considering the fact that he is hiding himself for the majority of it.
The other thing too is I think we're gonna get more flashbacks, more about Dunk,
Yeah.
but then I also think we're gonna get more flashbacks about the Blackfire Rebellion because the weird thing that kind of ties at least House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones together is
Oh,
the three-eyed raven, which is a Targaryen bastard, I believe. So we're probably gonna see something from him at some point because he does exist at this time.
yeah.
Uh, so there's a lot of theories out there. I don't know it it's all gonna be one of those things to where we have to keep watching to see if anything comes from it. I don't wanna go too far into it because there's no point, it's all speculation, but I think we will get more on the Blackfire Rebellion because we haven't really seen any
Yeah, they
direction
they
either.
definitely discussed it. I mean, obviously, the first Blackfire Rebellion, Sir Arlen fought in,
Yeah.
and it was discussed. And there's a whole bunch of them that continue way up to Game of
Mhm.
Thrones. So, um, it is definitely the one thing that really links all of
Yeah.
the stories together. That and the Targaryens as a well, all the families, the great
Yeah.
houses, I guess. So yeah, there'll be a lot of name dropping, just with different faces, um, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more that they can do. I will say that they kind of lengthened a lot of things out that I didn't feel was entirely necessary. But I mean, with the way that they paced the season, I guess they kind of had to with certain things. I hope that it is not a very slow season every season.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. If you think about it, the original Game of Thrones, at least the first couple seasons, it was kinda slow. It was more drama based, and I feel like this is gonna as it's shown us already, it's a mix of everything. So if they keep this kind of theme going, I think we're going to be fine. I also think, as far as flashbacks, we're probably going to get a little bit more on Dunk's past, probably more on Sir Arlen and his entanglement. So I guess it's time we get to our review because we didn't really talk about much about what we thought at the beginning like we normally do, but it's been solid for me this whole time. It's an 8. It's a honest 8 from Nate.
8 from Nate. Yeah, I think 8 is a very acceptable answer. Honestly, I was bordering on 9, but I do think Nate is right. It's an 8. The Nate 8 is
Yes,
right.
more
Although
action.
it is a Knight of the Nine Kingdoms, so
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's all lies.
Yeah. No, I think 8 out of 10 is very acceptable for this
Yeah.
show. If they had sped certain things up and um no, honestly, the way that it was held was held together pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8 sounds like it works.
Yeah, for me though, I just was hoping for a little bit more action, but other than that, it got the message across. So that's it. Unanimous 8 from us. So that's it for this episode of the podcast. If you don't know who we are Plot Hole Productions, and you can catch us on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Let us know what you guys thought of this first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Was it an 8 for you? Was it a 9? Or was it like the first episode's kind of cold opening there with little string of poo? Once again, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Plot Hole Productions. I'm your host, Nate Slater,
And I'm Chris Sandberg, and we'll catch you
in the
in the
void.
void.
I'm still going to have a lot of editing.
Yeah,